Hi, and welcome to another video of this video series on corporate podcasting. As always, that's Connie Steele. I'm Yann Ilunga. And this video, it's actually part two of a conversation we started in a different video where we talked about the first of four challenges we have identified when it comes to creating content. Connie, in case somebody missed that video, I think it's a smart idea for them to start there. And can you just give them maybe in a few seconds a sneak peek of what they can expect from video one of the content creation challenges?
Sure. What we wanted to provide is context of why content can be so time consuming. We both have experienced it, and we gave really example stories from both the personal and professional lives on when we've been challenged. But most importantly, we wanted to focus on solutions, on how we've learned to adapt and adjust and become more efficient in how we go about doing it. So hopefully you'll find that valuable along with the other video content that we have.
Great. Thank you, Connie. So you heard it. If you want to start from the beginning, you can start from that video. Now, Connie, today we could talk about the fact that creating content, well, and I'm always thinking as we are saying creating content, as we said in the previous video, content creation is just one of the many steps. I mean, there is the planning, there is the editing, there is the publishing, but I mean, let's be honest, it can be resource intensive. Am I right?
Absolutely. For one individual to think of strategically what it is you want to do, to think about the planning of it and writing it, being the actual, talent that records it, like you're on camera if that's a situation where you're doing video, or being the audio talent for it, if that's another avenue that you want to take and you want to do podcasting. I mean, there are so many different steps to creating content, and you as a single individual may not have the time, which is one thing we talked about before, but really the ability to do all facets of it. And so it can become such an overwhelming process, and it just takes so much resources to think, oh, wait, now that I need to think about the SEO part of it, now I need to think about how to edit my video, how to edit my audio, what are the right images, what's the right design for the content that I have, because there may be instances where the content you create may be a presentation. And we know that having a dull, flat designed presentation, even though the content would be really good, it's not going to work. It's going to completely fall flat because people want something visually compelling to draw them in. What would you say, Yann?
Yeah, I mean, I second your especially your last point. I think sometimes we are so focused on the, let's say, the educational component of the content we create that we forget about the experience side of things, whether it's audio content, video content, visual content, written content, it doesn't matter. We always need to keep in mind the aspect of the experience we want people to live or to feel as they are consuming our content. That's very important. For me, when I'm thinking about resource intensive, I have to say, yes, it can be very resource intensive. And I've seen this in my work with a couple of clients, especially one here in Helsinki, Finland, where I'm based. I've worked with a university here, and I've worked with them, or they hired me for different projects. And there was one in particular where it had to do with recording a series of video interviews with alumni of that university at a travel fair. And it was video interviews and audio as well. So they wanted to have the audio for podcasts and the video for social media and things like that. And one of the things that really showed how resources can be a challenge was the fact that the stand the university had for this fair, which lasted, I think it was 3 or 4 days, had other activities as well, which meant that when an interview took place, or before an interview was about to take place, we would set everything out, put the tripods, microphones, chairs, this, that, record. Then we would take everything down. And then there would be other activities. And then when the next interview, and it actually now I remember it was each interview, at the top of each hour, there was an interview. So we did it for at least 5, 6, 10 times the same process. And I think that as your company is thinking about creating a corporate podcast, it's important to try to think of, number one, is there a space that can be dedicated to the content creation? If there is, perfect. That would be the place where I would set the microphone or microphones, depending on the format your podcast has, the camera or cameras if you want to record video. I would really try as much as possible to have, and it doesn't have to be a studio. I mean, there are studios that can be rented, which is an excellent option if your company has the chance of get the people who are responsible for the creation of the podcast episodes to go to the studio. Everything is set up for you. You just need to record, you get the digital files, and then it's time for the editing. That's great. But if you are thinking of recording in-house and you're thinking about the recording space, if you can try to find a space, a corner, a room where you can set things up and you don't have to take them down every time, it's great. One tip I would add is, if you need to take things down, it's okay, but try to see if you could at least, let's say, place some tape on the table or on the floor, so that if you're using something like a tripod, you don't have every single time to try to find the right shot. You just have 3 pieces of tape on the ground. You just get there, you place each leg of the tripod on it, and you're good to go. So these are some of the first things that come to mind for me, Connie, when it comes to thinking about content creation being resource intensive. Anything that you want to comment on, or anything that you want to add?
Yeah. So as I was listening to you, it really triggered a key point that I think is really valuable for people to, I'm sure this would resonate with folks, is that when we think of resource intensiveness, you could bucket this into a couple different things. It is naturally the people. So particularly in a corporate side, when you're a business, you only have so many people that can be allocated to do X number of things. So naturally, folks are thinking, oh my God, I only have a small team. And we aren't able to spread ourselves across these different needs. But there's also the tools and applications, which is another area where you don't always have that breadth and depth of a toolkit to help you do what you need to do. The other piece that you just talked about is the space. So depending on the kind of content that you want to create, you may feel that you don't have the right location or area to help you create that content that you want. And then also just skills, right? So I should have even started with people reflects, it's people and skills, which could be an area where you have it or you don't have it, right? You have the tools and applications, and then it's really that location to do it all. So when we talk about resource intensiveness, a lot of the needs to be able to create that breadth of content that's necessary now, and people realize, well, I just can't have written format. I need to have it across video, audio, and written in long form, short form, and different styles. Like, whoa, wait a second. That requires people. That requires different skills. That requires different tools. That requires different applications. That require a different space. That's why it's all so challenging for us. So then what it comes down to is, well, what can I do? And the reality is that thanks to technology, there are some incredible applications that can enable you to, as I like to do, is like record once and syndicate many, where you can get the necessary information that you would have to have done anyway to write the article, to do a case study where you can record the conversation, and that conversation can be easily transcribed. Once it's transcribed, it's in written format, and then it's easier to edit. But this same tool could have taken that, say it's a video interview that you did, it's also in video. And that can also be an editing tool as well. So you could record the audio and the video at the same time, and it can include captioning. And it actually can then help you do simple micro content. So what's great is that there are brand new applications that are out there that almost let you combine these different tasks that you need to do to convert your content from one format to another, leveraging the same foundation. But it still does require you to be strategic in the kind of content you want to collect. So let's not focus necessarily on just the fact that, oh, this is a cool tool that can help me do everything. You still need to have the right inputs to then ensure that you're creating the right outputs in the end. So that's what I would add on to your points.
Yeah, I love what you just shared. I think it's really important because, as you said, this challenge can be looked at or can be translated into different aspects: people, space, actual equipment that it's used, whether it's physical or it's digital. And it's important, as you said, to keep in mind that there are tools nowadays, digital tools that enable us to do many different things. One thing I would add to that is that you may already have actually tools in your toolkit that would be perfect to do what you want to do next. So if I'm thinking of platforms like Zapier, for example, which enable you to connect tool A to tool B, you may be able to automate certain steps of your workflow. Or, as you said, there's also tools that actually pretty much do it all. So you may find one tool that has one subscription that enables you to get rid of tools 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you may be using already, because it does similar things and it may have similar features as well. So this, I think, it's probably everything I have to say when it comes to the resource intensive challenge when it comes to creating content. Connie, anything else you wanna say before we wrap things up for this one?
I would add on that in addition to having these tools and applications and products that can help you with the workflow, so that really that person that you have on your team can do more, but in turn, they may also have certain skills that just haven't been able to be leveraged because of the nature that you just have a small team. So by kind of marrying the ability to have different ways of working at the end of the day, and also learning from others, where both you and I have built these skills over time, where we've learned, wow, there's a different way of doing it where we can be much more efficient and can have greater output. It's having others who you can learn from that can train your small team to think differently, operate differently, more efficiently, so that you can really expand that breadth and depth, so that at the end of the day, what you can also do is build the foundational skill set of your team. So it isn't just the tools and applications that are the answer. It's how do you also help educate your team on different ways to create the content through the knowledge that other people can share with you, and providing them and arming them with the right tools so that they can learn and expand their skills, such that, the person who may only do social media, for instance, could actually be somebody who can help create some other compelling video content, or vice versa. Somebody who typically does most of the blog work, you can enable them to develop some really compelling social media content as a result of the work that they've done. So it's really combining all that to really support the scalability and efficiency of your team.
And I'm just gonna wrap things up, Connie, by adding to your comments by saying this, that if what Connie just said sounds interesting, sounds like an obstacle your company is facing right now and you would like to overcome it, but you aren't sure how to go about it, or you're just needing some guidance as you're diving into the corporate podcasting world, we're here to help. So you can just reach out to us. The best way to do that is if you go to flywheelassociates.com/podcasting, and there you're gonna find different resources, but you're also gonna find a button that you can use to get in touch with us. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. And lastly, if you have enjoyed this video or any of the previous videos of this corporate podcasting video series, if you're watching us on YouTube, consider subscribing to the channel so that you're going to be notified of whatever other piece of content is coming out next. This is it for this video, and we'll be back in the next one as we continue to unpack different challenges related to creating content for your company.
Thanks for joining us.